As you can tell from the title of today's video, we got scammed, but not in the sense you might think. We all know those scam graphics cards that pose as being super high-end GPUs, but end up being something like a GT 730, or even worse, a super ancient architecture GPU. This is not that. This is a card that poses as an RX 590, but in reality is just an RX 580, a card that is just slightly slower. Why exactly did this company flash this card to be an RX 590 when in reality they could have sold the card as a 580 for the same price and ended up, well, getting a good recommendation from us? Well, in today's video, we're gonna dive into that and try to understand the rationale behind this graphics card and why you need to be really careful when buying some of these good value for money cards out there, because things like this exist. But before we dive into today's video, let's hear a word from today's sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by our friends at Cooler Master and their super cool VSFX 1300 watt power supply that is built with quality in mind, featuring 100% Japanese capacitors, ATX 3.0 support for the latest RTX 40 and 30 series graphics cards, along with super clean, fully modular power supply cables to make a premium power supply that is leading the SFX power supply industry in power design, while also being a super compact, high power density unit. This power supply can also be used in standard ATX cases, not just ITX cases with the included brackets. If you would like a chance to win one of these SFX power supplies, then you should check the link down below and fill out the form to enter the giveaway, and you can also post your PC build with the following hashtags for a chance to win a $100 Steam gift card. Big thanks again to Cooler Master for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the video.
So this is going to be one of our usual benchmark videos where we take this graphics card and we plop it into our test bench, which is controlled. It's always the same, and we'll go over the specs of that in just a minute. But first, we're going to talk about any of the specs that we can find about the 590, or at least a 590 in general. But then once we actually benchmark it, we'll be able to tell you guys a little bit more about the card.
Now this graphics card is supposed to be an RX 590 GME, which has 2,304 cores, which is already totally wrong considering it claims to have 2,048 string processors, which kind of weird there, but it is an 8 gig card with GDDR5 memory. It is a Polaris 20 GPU, so it is a slightly stepped up version from the normal RX 580. When the 590 released, it was kind of a weird card because it just drawed more power and was just a little bit faster while also being like $50 to $100 more expensive. It was a very weird card, but it's kind of interesting to see that they were selling these, and I was excited to see, wow, they're actually repurposing a card that didn't make a whole lot of sense years ago into something, well, cheap now that you can actually get, but I have my suspicions with this card. The claimed TDP of this card is 175 watts with a suggested power supply of 450 watts, which is basically the same as like a 580. It's really not that much different, but yeah, this graphics card was $89 on AliExpress, and we're gonna go ahead and try to put it in our test bench, which Jackson will talk about here in a second, and see if it'll take a normal driver. That's the biggest thing. If it'll take a normal driver, then maybe it is what it says it is, or, well, we'll see what GPU-Z says what graphics card it actually is, because it could be a fake, and if it is a fake, I really don't know why.
So for our controlled test bench environment, we have a very high airflow system featuring the Ryzen 7 5700X 240mm deep cool liquid cooler. We have an Asus TUF B550M, 16 gigs of PNY Accelerate 3600 MHz RGB RAM. We have a 1TB Team Group NVMe SSD. We have an XPG 650 watt power supply, and then we have a very nice deep cool case with lots of airflow. So now that we've talked about the graphics card and the test bench, let's go ahead and combine them together and do some testing
in harmony.
Alright guys, now that we have this RX 590, or so it says it is, on the test bench, let's dive into some testing, shall we? So the games we test are as follows: Hogwarts Legacy, Apex Legends, Cyberpunk, Forza Horizon 5, Modern Warfare 2, and Rainbow Six Siege. Now let's figure out if this 590 is legit. First up, the ultimate test. Can it install the right driver? So I used AMD's Auto Detect utility and it popped up as a 590 GME, which from my research is kind of like in between a 580 and 590, not exactly a full-fledged 590. This honestly surprised me because I thought it would just pop up as a 580 2048 string processor, but it didn't. So I went ahead and installed the driver, and then from there I launched GPU-Z, which does show again RX 590 GME. But when you look at the release date of the graphics card versus the release date of the 590 on Google, or when you click on GPU-Z and you look up the lookup section to see more details about the graphics card. The timeline release date of the graphics card more resembles a 580 2048 stream processor than a 590 GME, which kind of affirms the fact that this card is not exactly what it says it is, and it is a flashed version of the 580 2048 stream processor to make it look like it is a 590, which, as you see in the benchmarks, which we're going to go ahead and dive into and then talk about why I think this is kind of weird that they're doing this. We have Hogwarts Legacy on medium settings, quality FSR at 1080p. We got about 60 plus FPS, but there were many dips below 60. Realistically, this card is probably better for low settings, but we're still getting a 60 FPS average when we get into places like Hogwarts. Out in the woods, sometimes it dips below 60, but for the most part, it's a pretty playable experience. And that really draws the question, why would they even consider flashing this card to a 590, sell it for $89, which isn't much more than the 580s go for, and give us a card that's actually not a scam card? It actually performs somewhat decently. My only guess is they think the 590 will sell more, or maybe someone like me will buy the 590, but it was probably a bad idea because now this brand, out of all the no-name brand card manufacturers out there, is going to be kind of on a list in my mind that I should be a little bit careful if I buy a card from them, because there's a chance it might not actually be the cheap card I think it is, like the other ones we've worked with, 51 Risk, Acerix. All those companies actually produce legit cards. They're not bad cards or fake cards, but this company, for some reason, I don't know, they just decided to go that route. Now let's dive into Apex Legends. We're pretty much on like medium high settings, 1080p, and we got 100 plus FPS on average. In esports titles, this 580 is perfectly adequate. It'll easily play Apex Legends at 100 plus FPS high refresh rate. If you're going to build a PC with this thing, which once again, since it's a fake card, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but if you happen to get this card, I mean, it would work great with like an i3 12100F or a Ryzen 5 5500, and will easily get 1080p medium settings high refresh rate, no problem whatsoever. Now let's really push this thing to the limit. So we got Cyberpunk 1080p medium settings with quality FSR, and we got pretty respectable numbers. We got an average of 56 FPS, a minimum of 42, and a max of 73. Honestly, I'd probably run 1080p low with quality FSR, and you would get a locked 60 FPS experience in a game like Cyberpunk. For a graphics card that's $89, I really can't complain too much, but again, the performance is very, very similar to a 580 2048 stream processor, because I am like 99.9% sure that's exactly what it is. But regardless, the performance is more than acceptable in a game like Cyberpunk, and it didn't crash, and it actually worked the way it's supposed to. Next up, we have another demanding title, Forza Horizon 5, 1080p medium settings, and we average 75 FPS. The beauty of this card having 8 gigs of VRAM, while be it is GDDR5 VRAM, it does help out in these newer games that are very VRAM dependent, even at 1080p. You could stretch into 1440p a little bit if you want to, but even with like the normal 580s, I wouldn't really recommend it, because a lot of newer games are going to eat up the VRAM, especially at 1440p. But if you want to play esports titles, or just, you know, lower end games like Minecraft, Valorant, things like that at 1440p, you'll have no problems with this 590. Now let's dive into the new Modern Warfare 2 on the balance preset with quality FSR 2.0. We end up getting an average of 96 FPS. This surprised me a little bit. I didn't expect to get this high of an FPS number with this graphics card, but hey, you can easily play multiplayer getting 60 plus FPS. I'd imagine in Warzone 2.0, you'll be closer to about 60 to 59 FPS average. You will dip below 60 every so often, but I think the performance will be more than acceptable, again, paired with something like an i3 12100F or Ryzen 5 5500. I haven't really decided what I want to do with this graphics card yet. It would kind of make sense to upgrade that eBay gaming PC we got that, well, had the whole bait and switch thing going on there. Maybe put a card in that's a scam card into a system that was kind of a scam system. Let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like to see that. But again, the performance in Modern Warfare 2, more than acceptable. And the last game we tested was an esports title that we decided to throw in there. We got Rainbow Six Siege, high 1080p. We end up getting an average of 205 FPS, a minimum of 158, and a max of 270. In recap, this graphics card is, again, it's not what it says it is, and that, at the end of the day, is the biggest problem with this card. $89 is not a bad price for what it is, but you can get a normal 580 2048 stream processor card for about $70. Save yourself $20 and get a card that is actually what it says it is, and yeah, just kind of avoid this brand, because it sucks to see that they are actually taking advantage advantage of this uptick of these no-name graphics cards that are actually really good values and presenting us with a quote-unquote scam card that's not exactly what it is. It really worries me because I want this market to keep growing because it delivers really good value for money when the new graphics cards on the market right now are incredibly expensive and not offering good value for money. These companies are here doing what they're doing, even though it may not be okay with AMD and Nvidia, they are still doing what they're doing to deliver great value to consumers. So I really hope this isn't a trend where some of these companies are going to start doing really shady things, because we really want this to stick around and not be ruined for everybody. So now we finished the benchmarking section of today's video. How to bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.
All right, guys, we just got done benchmarking this graphics card. That's what we're gonna call it. It doesn't have a name because although they claim that it's like a weird 590 2048, from what we can tell, it's basically just one of those RX 580 2048s, which is kind of like a 578 gig at this point. So it really is a weird kind of card because it's not like we paid 590 price, and we paid around $90, which for a 580 2048 is not a bad deal. It's just more of like a, hey, they definitely did purposely flash this card and they purposely made all of the content about it geared that it is a 590, and that is not the truth.
Yeah, so I would definitely stay away from this card because there are some times you can get those 580s on AliExpress, especially if you're buying from AliExpress. $90 is not bad for Amazon pricing, but this was an AliExpress card. Some of those 580s can go for $70, so you'll save a lot of money going with those other options, but it's just very strange why they did that. Again, as Jackson mentioned, it's not like we're paying a crazy amount more money for a graphics card. It's really close to the same price. So I really don't know, but regardless, it's not one we really recommend. But if you want to see some of the other graphics cards we do recommend, check the links in the description down below. They will be affiliate links and they will help us out. Let us know what you think of this graphics card and what you think the theory is of why they're doing this other than just trying to trick the consumer.
And as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros. And do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
So if you guys didn't know, we do have a PC selling business where we don't only sell PCs using weird graphics cards like this at really cheap prices, but we also sell merch. We have lots of cool PC Bros and Toasty Bros merch that you guys should totally check out.
PCBros.tech, gaming PCs, gaming laptops, and again, merch, guys. Buy some merch. Walk around looking proud with your PC Bros and Toasty Bros merch. Use code ToastyBros2 on checkout to save 2% of your next purchase. See you guys later. Goodbye.
Peace out.